What's going on, everyone? It's Ben from YGO from Zero back with another Retro Yu-Gi-Oh video, and this is going to be a pretty short video, but it's a video that's been requested a couple times, so I figured I'd cover it before moving on from Yata into the future formats that I'm going to cover. And this video is just going to talk about what Yata was like in the TCG, because if you didn't know, Yata format takes place actually at the Worlds Tournament held in August of 2003. So that's when the format takes place like in time, and because it takes place in the Worlds format, it actually has some slight differences from how the game was actually played in the TCG at the time. So, if people did want to explore how the format was at the time of the TCG, they could do that. I'm not going to really be exploring that on my channel because I think it's very, very close to how it was at Worlds. And also, I think that having too many formats running around with the name of Yata around the same time is bad for like engagement in either one of the formats. So I'm not really going to explore that at all or really talk about it much on my channel after this video exactly. But it is something that you can look into if you are interested. So I figured it might be good just to have out there. So if you don't know, at the time of the World's Tournament in 2003, the TCG and the OCG actually had a difference in ruling surrounding three cards in particular, and that's Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer, Bazoo the Soul Eater, and Skull Lair. Now, at the time in the TCG, these cards could actually banish any card from the graveyard instead of just monsters, as they are updated now. So this made them a little bit more powerful than they were in the OCG, and actually it made them meta-defining staples of things like Android and also Fiber, and any format in the TCG that was played during the time when these cards had those erratas. So that's a very important thing to know. These cards could actually be, potentially decent cards, or at least better cards, in the sort of TCG version of Yata format than they were in the Worlds format version. Now, there's one other difference that could potentially come up, and that really depends on when you want to look at Yata format in the TCG, because, there's really a range of time from around August to around October, because in early October, Magician's Force came out, and that sort of kickstarts the next format that we'd cover. So, you can sort of pinpoint anywhere in between those times. And there actually was a pack that came out at the very beginning of October before Magician's Force, which is Tournament Pack 4. And that actually had a card known as Royal Decree, which is a continuous trap that says negate all other trap cards on the field. Now, I will be covering this in my guide to the next format that I'm going to be putting out later this week, hopefully. It's going to be a long video, so fingers crossed that we're able to get it out on time this week. But I will be covering this there, so, this isn't necessarily a prerequisite video you'll need to know before watching that. But this card is, somewhat decent. It's basically like a trap version of Jinzo, as it negates all other trap effects on the field. So that can be useful against certain decks. For instance, if you're up against last turn, this could be a good counter to put in the side and bring in. And there are some other back row heavy decks that, you'd want to bring this in against. However, I don't really think that this is a meta-defining card or a meta-warping card. So I don't really think that this would really make that big of a difference either. But if you wanted to explore the format that would arise like after Tournament Pack 4 came out, with these erratas and before Magician's Force comes out, then you could definitely do that. So I figured I'd mention those two sorts of versions of the TCG version of Yata, as they can be important to know about if you do want to look into this stuff on your own, which I encourage you to do if you have the interest for. Now, since this video is so short, I figure I'll mention some of my plans for the future. So after this video, we're going to be having a video covering PGD format, which is basically it's basically what happens if you play Yata format, but without the Yata limited list, actually using the limited list from Fiber, and you still play with the cards from Pharaonic Guardian. So it should be pretty fun. I'm sort of building decks for that, and I'm going to be testing that later tonight. So that'll be very fun to see how that goes, and you should have a video for that coming out either tomorrow or the next day. But then after that, we're diving in to the next major format, which is the format using the cards from Magician's Force and the limited list from November of 2003. Now, the reason why I don't just call it by name is because we're actually currently voting on the name. So if you're seeing this video and you haven't yet voted on the name, I have a poll in my community tab about, whether to call this breaker or science or scientist or mad scientist format. I also have a poll on my Discord as well. So definitely head on over to there. Right now, it seems that breaker is winning. So that seems like what we're going to be calling the format coming up. But there is still time to get in your votes and help make the decision happen. So if you do feel strongly about the name of this next format, then definitely hop on in and vote for whichever one you prefer. But it feels very, very cool to sort of look back on what we covered from Yata. It feels like sort of we're moving on into a new era of the game just because Yata was such a big part of this channel for the past couple months. And also it's just a really, really cool format. And I think it's one of the best DM era formats. And I'm very excited to see what Magician's Force brings. There are some cards in Magician's Force that may indicate that it might not be quite as good as Yata, but I still am very excited to dive into them. And who knows, maybe Breaker or Science or Scientist or Mad Scientist format, whatever it ends up being called, will surprise us. So definitely stay tuned if you're interested in that. Subscribing is the best way to keep up to date with the videos that we released. So definitely, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. We're almost at 900 subscribers, which is very exciting. And so we're almost to another sub special potentially if we do reach that milestone. But also, if you enjoyed this video, please do leave a like down below. And also, comment on what you think of these sort of changes in Worlds format versus these sort of TCG Yata formats. Comment if you think that I actually get this completely wrong and maybe Kaiku, Bazoo, and Skull Lair make this format completely different from how it is in the Worlds format that we've been covering. Or maybe Royal Decree does too. Just let us know down in the comments below. I'm happy to talk with y'all as always. But until next time, I've been Ben from YGO from Zero, and I'm signing off.